It's not that easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves, when I think it could be nicer being red or yellow or gold or something much more colorful like that. Oh, hello, Kermit the Frog here, and we've got a review for you of the Diamond Select Me.
What's up, everybody? Tech Chucker here, and I've got a review for you of the Diamond Select Muppets Kermit, Bean, and Robin white carded action figure set. And I gotta say, this set is so much fun. I just love this entire wave. I've got all of them. You already saw my review of Gonzo and Camilla. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and crack this thing open and take a closer look. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and breeze through all three of these figures' articulation, but let's check out Kermit's first, since he's the first one, or the primary character. He has a hinge in his neck and a peg, and he can look up, an okay amount, not a lot, but he can look down a decent amount, not too bad, and then he's got decent side-to-side motion. It's a little tight, but that'll loosen up over time. No tilt, none whatsoever. Shoulders, he's got a ball hinge, and he's able to get those arms up a decent amount. He's got full rotation of the arm. Just be very, very careful because these things are very delicate. He's got a peg and a hinge, another one of those ball joints in his elbow, almost 90 degrees, and then in the wrist, he's got a hinge and a peg, and pretty good range of motion. I'm pretty stoked, satisfied, I think. I can't think of the word. In the hips, he's got the same kind of ball hinge joint. He's able to do the splits if you kind of twist that just right. Not a full split, but pretty darn close. Mine are getting just a hair loose. He can kick forward a decent amount, not fully 90 degrees, but over 45 degrees, so I'm happy there. Okay, kicking back, not a lot, but it works. There is a peg joint in the knee, so it can rotate, and then he has that same kind of joint, 90 degrees there, which is great. Pretty happy with that. And down below in the ankle, he's got another hinge. He can get that foot back and forward, a pretty good amount. And then there's actually an ankle rocker, which works pretty good also. So overall, articulation's pretty darn good on Kermit. I'm just really concerned about how delicate he is. All right, moving over into Robin. So he's got a ball peg in his head, and it can move side to side. Not much, tilt, but just a hair, a little bit. I'm satisfied enough with it. He can barely look up, can't really look down. Shoulders, this looks to be just a peg or a ball peg, and it kind of just rotates around, and you can get just a little bit of movement, not much. And same with the legs up in the hip area. These are a lot tighter on mine, and you're not really going to move them around that much anyway, since there's no ankle anything. But Beans actually he's got a peg joint in the neck. He can side to side. He's got the same basic thing in his shoulders, so he can kind of rotate those arms just a little bit, not much. And then he's got this peg joint for his hips, and he can move those legs forward and back, so he can sit down or whatever you need. So pretty limited for Beans and Robin, but Kermit is pretty darn good. Alrighty, let's take a look at the sculpt and the paintwork on this figure, because Diamond Select did a really nice job with Kermit. It looks exactly like Kermit. I am super happy. The eyes and mouth and basically the whole head, it's sculpted really well. It's painted fairly cleanly. I just couldn't be any happier. It almost looks like there is a hand inside that head. I'm just really stoked. I like the texture that they gave. This collar piece it could be a little softer, but it's not that big of a deal. It does rotate a little bit. The rest of the figure, The only thing that bugs me is that I wish that the hands were a little bit pliable. Maybe had like a wire so that you could kind of bend them into position. The rest of it just looks really good. I'm always nervous because it's very, very delicate and thin, but there's not much else that they could have done. Robin, now, he, sculpt-wise, looks really nice. There's some messiness with the paint on the eyes. You can see that green kind of isn't as crisp as it could be. But beyond that, I mean, he looks just like he did in the show. The elbows, it looks like they had to add a little extra material or something. It looks a little funky, but who cares? It's not that big of a deal. I think they sculpted it pretty nice. There's a little issue on the neck, but again, it's on the back, not a big deal. And then Beans here actually has the most paint and probably the most sculpt work as well. And he looks really nice. I honestly don't know anything about this character, but it looks really cool. I like it. They painted it pretty clean. There's a lot of nice paint work. Well, maybe I wouldn't say a lot, but for the small figure, it's pretty decent. And I have no issues with it. I'm pretty happy. All right, let's see just how big these figures are, because they're actually really quite small. If I can find my ruler, there we go. All right, so Kermit stands at about 3.5, just a hair over 3.5, close to 3 3/4. And Robin is pretty small at about 2 inches, just a hair over 2 inches. And Beans over here is about 2 inches at the tip of his ears. So not super big, but they do scale pretty well with the rest of the Diamond Select Muppets figures. But if I can get Kermit to stand, let's see what they look like with Deadpool as usual. And Deadpool is considerably taller, but again, you could scale them with Marvel Legends because there's really no expectation that they are going to be the same size. All right, Diamond Select gave us some really nice accessories, starting with this little log. They sculpted it very nicely. They painted it very nice. It actually looks like a chunk of wood. You can see the knot there. They gave it a little bit of shading, so it looks nice. On the end, it actually looks like there's some rings, like a piece of wood would actually have, so that's really cool. It's a nice little accessory to have that you can throw in for your pictures, and it gives a little bit more depth, a little more life to the picture. We also get a little stool that Kermit can sit on, and it's, very, very simple. There's not really paint on it. It's all one color, but it is nice. It's, there's not a lot to say about it. It's very nice, and it sits nice and level. So I'm very, very pleased. Now, getting Kermit to actually sit on it and stay on it can be just a hair tricky, and it's mainly because his hips don't allow his legs to move up high enough, but you can still get him to sit on it. I just kind of feel like I might need to use some sort of sticky stuff to get him to stay in the position that I want, so he's not just leaning back so much. But that's more of an issue with the articulation on Kermit than it is an issue with the accessory. All right, next up, Kermit also comes with his banjo, and the paint is kind of hit or miss with this. It's decent in some areas and not so great in others, but the sculpt is really nice. I like the way that they sculpted this. It looks really good. The strap maybe could be a little softer, but the rest of it, I like it. I think they did a good job. It actually looks like that is able to come off, but it's not. It's sculpted on. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I think if they had just painted it a little bit cleaner, it would look that much better. But again, it's still a really cool accessory. And basically, you can just slide that on over his head, and this is where I think I had it right the first time. This is where if the strap was just a little bit softer, you could kind of have him holding it in different ways. But in this way, it's basically you have one option, and that's it. But you can make it look like he's actually playing the guitar or the banjo. It looks really cool. Obviously, a Kermit the Frog has to have a banjo, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So overall, I am super pleased with these figures. This little set is pretty cool. You know, I'd probably rather have the full set that came with all of the accessories, but because this is the white card and I got it for $4, I can't complain whatsoever. It's a really cool set. I love the Muppets. It brings back all the nostalgia from my childhood, so I had to get these. And I recommend, if you see them, I would get them. They normally are around $12.99. They're probably worth $12.99, but at $4, you better get them. Alrighty folks, I hope this review was helpful. If it was, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of these figures, if you have them, if you're looking for them. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.